Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Crow, Director of Community at NinjaOne, and here we are back on 12.0 week, which has had a little bit of a rough start, but hey, the one session that's gone well, not to jinx this at all, but the one that has gone perfectly was Monday's session featuring Luke. And so I considered Luke Whitelock, our Director of Product Management, a fantastic human being all around and our personal good luck charm. I'm sure that won't jinx anything at all. Luke, you're joining us back here in on the YouTubes with a new face to many. We have Phil Geraghty, and Phil, you are a product manager here at NinjaOne who is still relatively new. It seems like you've already been here for a while, in a good way. But you want to introduce yourself and tell the folks watching a little bit about what you're focused on at Ninja?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Phil Geraghty, product manager here at NinjaOne. Super excited to be working with Lord Whitelock and Professor Crow, among others. So yeah, I've got a background in, MSP, internal IT, and I'm here to help out with the roadmap for ticketing, among other things. So very excited to be here to talk about the ticketing that we have in place and what's coming very shortly. And for those of you already on 12, some of the things that you've now got at your disposal, as well as all the PSA cool stuff that Luke's been working on.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Phil. It's great to have you here, and you're already getting welcomes and everything. I'm waiting for Stryker to show up so he can start heckling you, because the more of that I can disperse into other people, the better. All right, well, guys, thank you for taking the time to join. Robert and Mike, good to see you here. Everyone else watching too, thanks for taking time. So we're going to be talking about PSA. And before we get into it, before Luke, you share your screen and start diving into things, maybe we should give a little bit of context. And I know that a lot of you watching, you're familiar with us. You're in our Discord. You've had loads of interactions with Ninja, and you kind of know the story with PSA. But for anyone who comes across this afterwards or is watching and you don't, maybe we can set the scene a little bit, provide a little bit of context, because it's definitely prompted some questions. I mean, a lot of people have been asking, okay, yeah, Ninja, you've been offering an RMM, you've extended into documentation, ticketing, right? Are you going to be providing a full PSA? What does that mean for how you're partnering and integrating with all the other PSAs and all that? Luke, do you want to provide some context there?
Oh, so with 12.0, we're actually GAing our billing module. So we used to call this PSA inside NinjaOne, but what we're actually trying to show as PSA is not just the billing part. It's the whole suite of our tools that we've got inside NinjaOne now. So it's ticketing, documentation, asset management, and billing, all in one platform, all closely integrated with the RMM. Just try and make things as automated and as easy as possible, just to take the data we've got elsewhere in Ninja, try and bring it all together, and really just make things as smooth and as easy to do as possible. So I kind of everything at the moment, we're just kind of like a basic PSA, I'd call it. We're trying to stick to the Ninja ethos behind building anything, which is make it as easy to use as possible, keep it simple, and then just listen to what our customers ask for, and we'll slowly build it over time. Based on what you guys are going to ask for.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I mean, I think maybe it's safe to say too, it's kind of cool having the opportunity to approach things in a fresh way. Of course, there's established PSAs that everyone has been relying on for years now, and they're extremely powerful. They've been fine-tuned. They do great jobs at things, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that everything there has to be replicated. Maybe there's switches starting fresh in a way to see what is truly essential. What are the jobs to be done? How can we really leverage all the native interoperability between Ninja's different tools to do all the things that you want? I mean, I think what's really cool is seeing both of you guys come from an MSP background. You've used the tools. You've come to Ninja to kind of have the awesome opportunity to build what you wish you would have had, what you wanted to have differently. And we're asking all of you who are watching, all the customers and users, to think of it that way too. You know, what are the things that you need? What are the things that you don't? This is what Ninja's all about, is listening to you all and really building together. So thanks everybody for doing that. And look, lo and behold, Stryker is here. Stryker, we have a recipe for you. Phil is a relatively new PM. He's focusing on ticketing. Please commence your trolling to properly haze him in.
Hey, now I'm not a relatively new PM. I'm a relatively new PM here. Damn it.
All right, but with all that said, Stryker's already coming out hot with a question. I'll leave it to you if you want to answer that now, or we can dive into things first, and then we can come back to it.
I'll answer it now because it probably gives some good context on what our plans are for this year. So this year we're actually dedicating an entire stream of development work just to bringing in asset management, ticketing, and documentation closer together, building all those integrations, and pretty much the top of the list is to get checklists onto tickets. So yeah, it's something we're very aware of, and it's definitely something we're looking to tackle sooner rather than later.
Yeah, in fact, we were talking about it like half an hour ago. So yeah,
awesome. Yeah, and Travis is just kind of just chiming in on that too. So I mean, yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. Starting off with the basics, you guys let us know what's the essentials, and we'll get to work. With that said, Luke, do you want to? I'll pull up your screen here.
Sure.
And you can take us on a tour.
Absolutely. So today we're going to really focus on the billing parts and the ticketing parts and how they interact together and how you can configure them. I'll show some new features and also go over some of the features we've already released with billing, just because it's the first time it's gone GA now with 12.0. So if you haven't seen it before, I'll try and go back to some of the basics around it. So starting out, the first thing we've done in 12.0 is instead of it being called NinjaOne PSA, it's now just called NinjaOne Billing. PSA is that bundle of billing, ticketing, documentation, and asset management, which is why we just thought it better to give it its own name inside here, just to really emphasize what you are getting with PSA. So one of the key things we've added into 12.0 is the ability to start getting some reporting out of PSA. So understanding your profitability, understanding where you might be losing some money, where things might be going wrong. So the first part of that is we've given you the ability to start coming in and being able to configure. I'll have to actually be able to pick a technician. Under your technicians, you can come in here and we've now got a finance tab. So this is going to let you come in and set your burdened cost for your employee. So it's how much your employee actually costs you an hour you want to set in here. So you take into things such as training, such as holidays, any health insurance they have, or any other direct costs that's associated to the employee, and then calculate the hourly cost based off that. We're going to try and provide a calculator to make this a bit easier to do. It's in progress at the moment, so it'll be out shortly. But yeah, so tracking this, it gives you that option to get an estimated cost of exactly how much it's costing you to provide support to each of your customers. We also have the option, if you don't configure this, you can just set an average cost in the time products, and we'll take that instead, just in case you have all your technicians with admin access and you don't want to see what everyone else has paid. Today, the finance details here are only available for system administrators and PSA administrators. Other than that, you cannot see or configure this field. So moving on now, I'm going to talk through how you can set up some of the different ways to bill time inside Ninja PSA. So everything we do in PSA, it comes under an agreement. So under an organization, if I go here, I've got a bunch of agreements set up. So each ticket, when you create a ticket, it's going to automatically assign your default agreement here. So I could come in and change it to a different agreement if I wanted. But for now, I've just got it set to a managed services one by default. When you created a ticket, you can come in and override it. So if you had a separate agreement for doing a one-off project, you could assign any tickets associated with that to that specific agreement. So what does an agreement look like if we go into that? This is a managed services one. In here, I've got a bunch of different products. So we've got a few different ways that we can build products in here. So with 12.0, we've moved over to, actually, let me go back and I'll just show you some changes we made to products in 12. So we've actually introduced a couple of new things for billing here, which is the concept of account codes. So previously we had product types. These have been replaced with account codes just to better align with how you do your accounting and your billing. And then products, instead of having the types, we've just moved over to a quantity type instead. So you can either do a manual type, automate your accounts based on device information inside Ninja. So you can do device groups which look at custom fields or installed software or anything else you want there. Do accounts based off end users, how much backup storage is used, or time entries are the ones we'll talk about today, which are linked in with ticketing. So going back into that agreement, the first one I'll look at today is, let's look at a break fix one. So this is how you'd set up billing if you want to start billing your customers for every bit of time you do. So you haven't got any agreements with them, you just want to do ad hoc billing. So this is how you can use Ninja to do that. So in time entries, what we're going to do is add a couple of different products here. So for this, I want to bill 2 different rates. One for my senior technicians, they cost me more, so I want to bill customers more if we have to have a senior tech involved. And one for my standard technicians, which is everyone else who's doing their normal day-to-day job. So in the ticketing here, what will happen is whenever we log a time entry, it's going to work down this list in ticketing and say, hey, is this user a system administrator or a ticketing manager? If it does, it will match here and bill them. If not, it will move down and then bill the standard technicians if that then matches. So if we go into the product, how that's configured is we have the concept of application user roles here. So if we leave it blank, it will match for everyone. If we set in specific ones here, it will match users with those roles when they track their time. In the billing settings, we've got a bunch of options here around, do I want to use this product for normal hours, for out of hours, and then if it's used for remote support or on-site support, just to give me that control of saying, hey, actually, this is my rate for my standard support rate, which is normal hours and remote. If you go on site, we want to charge a different rate. So we can either do that by enabling everything in here, and then we have some multiplier options. So I can say, hey, for on-site, I actually want to charge time and a half. And for off hours, I also want to charge time and a half. Alternatively, I can just untick these options and create different products. So I could do an on-site product if I wanted, and an off-hours product, which would just match on those as well, and just put them further down the list. So they'd be able to match there. So this is the basics of being able to bill ad hoc, bill on a break fix basis. Your price is going to be how much you charge customers an hour. Your cost is your average cost of technician costs you. So this is what we'll fall back to if you haven't set those technician costs. That will come into play a little bit later. So moving on, the next model we support is for block time billing. So this is where you want to sell your customers a block of 10 hours, for example, and give it to them at a reduced rate from what they pay otherwise. So if we come into here, we can come into here, and again, we'll look at the time entry products. For this one, I've configured just one product here. So I'm going to come in, edit this. And if you note, I've got this to match everything. I still have a price and a cost set here. This is going to be important because if I ever run out of the blocks of time, it's going to start charging the customer at whatever rate is configured here if they go over what's included. To do block time, we've got this include time option. So I can come in here and I can say, I want to include either an unlimited amount or a limited amount. And in this example, I've said include 10 hours, and I'm going to allow an unlimited amount to carry over. I could also restrict this to say only allow 2 hours to carry over or any other number I want. So what's this going to then do is every time we raise an invoice from this agreement, it's going to add on the amount of hours we have here. So we'll be able to sell 10 hours, they'll have 10 hours available to use. What we can do then, if I come out of here, is if you look here, I've got this included time balance. So I can click on here, and this is going to give me the full history of exactly how that time has been used as well. So initially it started at 0. I raised one invoice from this, which gave me a balance of 10. I then used quarter of an hour on a ticket, and that's now changed it when I did another invoice. So if we come back into here and edit this, the thing you'll notice there is it did a quarter of an hour. How we control that is we have this rounding option here. So here I can choose to round it from 5, 10, 15 minutes, etc., in whatever chunks of time you want to actually bill customers. So yeah, the other part of this is going to just give them the 10 hours of time, and we'll charge them for anything extra. But to actually charge them that time, what we have is we need to do another associated, which is that pack of time. So here I've got a 10 hours pack where we can bill them a lower rate. which is then every time this invoice is raised, it's going to give them that 10 hours, but also charge them the price for that 10 hours. And that's how you do block time. And then the last thing I want to talk about today is going to be your more typical managed services agreement, where you can start to combine all these different types together to give you something a little bit more powerful. So if we come into here, you can see my first one here is going to be my managed services included time. So this is set to include an unlimited amount of time, and it's only going to allow me to do for normal hours and remote support. I'm going to then include an unlimited amount of time for my customers. The next option down is going to be for a scheduled site visit. So this is where I've arranged to do a site visit with my customer. It's booked in our calendar. We've got the tech going around and we haven't had to make any exceptions. So we want to include that for customers as well. So here I've done normal hours and on-site. And again, I'm just going to include an unlimited amount of time for that. Next up is out of hours. So this is where we want to start charging our customer normally. So for out of hours support, we want to charge them to pay for this, but we're also going to want to just include like an hour a month or something, just so we'll bake it into our contracts to be nice to the customers. We always know there's an odd thing which happens out of hours. It's just a good value add we can do for our customers, just include that free hour for them once a month. So here I'll do off hours and remote. I'm going to include 1 hour per month, and I'll allow a maximum of 2 to be carried over, just so if they're not using it, it will accumulate. And if we just have one outage, we can cover that for them and say, hey, we've already swallowed the cost for this, that's fine. And then anything else over that is going to start billing them at £150 an hour in my example here. Yeah, and then the last option I've got here is one which, if we come into here, is never going to match directly because we've already matched on all the other options we've got set up here. So this will only be available to manually select on a ticket. This means when I'm logging my time, this is something, there's been a flood, I'm having to drop everything else my MSP is doing, rush to site with half of my engineers to try and get this customer back up. We're going to bill them for that time because it's not included in our normal contract. So here we're going to charge them the cost. We're not going to include any of the time. And Phil will show you this in a minute, but we will be able to manually select this as an option when I'm tracking my time. And yeah, again, the matching rules are going to work from top to bottom here. And that will give us, in theory, all the different ways we can bill our customers. So yeah, I think from the initial setup side, that's all you need to know on the billing for ticketing and the time side of things. And I'll hand over to Phil for a bit. Unless we have any questions in the meantime.
Yeah, so we do have one from Stryker here, and he said, for those MSPs that have contract managers and or finance people, what role is needed to add these agreements? Well, MSPs need to buy a technician license, basically.
We have a special license for it. It is the technician role license. Sorry, we have a special role for this under permissions, under NinjaOne billing, which is the administrative actions license or permission for NinjaOne PSA for NinjaOne billing. Oh, my brain has gone apparently. Yeah, so we have this permission, which will give them access to the PSA side of things. They would still need a PSA license, but we do include 3 free licenses for MSPs for PSA.
Okay, great. And just to, I realized that we probably should have established that right up front too, just so everyone's clear. Obviously, Ninja has a lot of capabilities that are bundled up under your standard plans, but then we also have separate SKUs, right? Separate products, and so PSA is going to be one of those. Or Luke, as you mentioned, it's kind of a bundling of ticketing documentation, and now what you're referring to as billing. And so, how do people get access to it? What does that look like? I guess just to clarify, the PSA is a bundle offering, and that's going to be basically like if someone's already using ticketing or documentation, for example, are they able to shift over to this new bundle, or how does it work?
Yep, so it's a bundle of ticketing, documentation, asset management, and billing. You can shift over to this bundle if you talk to your account manager. Yeah.
All right,
pretty
cool.
much what there is to it. Talk to your account manager is the best option.
No, that's great. And so talk to your account manager. You'll see these options available as 12.0 rolls out, which for our friends in Europe, it's already there. In Canada, Oceania, North America, if you're on the primary North American instance, then it's going to be coming soon. It's been delayed a little bit. We'll keep you updated on as soon as we have a new date for that. All right. And yeah, everybody, Striker, thanks for those questions. Anyone else, if you have questions, don't be shy, let us know. But with that, let's continue on.
Let's do it. All right, so let's talk about ticketing.
Nice.
Obviously, the more exciting bit. Okay, so obviously, some of you have been using ticketing for quite some time, so a little bit of this is going to be foundational. But we have some cool new stuff that's coming in 12 or has come in 12, depending on whether you've received that update yet or not. And going to talk about that, as well as how we can bring things like alerts and events into tickets, and how they can then integrate with all that cool PSA stuff that Luke was just telling you about. To start off, one of the things that we've brought to you in 12.0 is, if we look down here, automatically assigning the device to single device users. So with that checked, essentially, if your end users, your contacts are associated to a single managed device, then we will automatically add that onto the ticket as the affected device to the ticket. And obviously that can be edited, but it's going to reduce some of that burden and make things a little bit more streamlined. So really excited about that. One other thing that we brought in for 12.0, because we obviously understand that one of the primary routes for tickets is through email. And sometimes those emails are coming from third-party systems that might respond unfavorably when we send out an acknowledgement email, which we tend to do depending on your settings. So we've actually added some more power in these notification rules, which is really smart. So basically, you can elect whether or not you're going to respond to emails that are coming in from certain types of addresses and how we're going to deal with that. So if we just open up one of these by default, you can see we've got a wildcarding in here. So anything auto reply at wildcard, we can actually only send public comments, allow all email notifications to go out, or not send any. So you've got a little bit of extra control there for making sure that we don't have those loops coming in. And you can add any patterns that you feel are appropriate depending on the kind of systems you're working in. So if you've got like an uninterrupted power supply, sending an email in as a ticket, and you're finding yourself in a loop, this is the kind of thing that's going to absolutely kind of nip that in the bud. So there's a couple of things that we really wanted to address in 12.0, and I just want to talk a little bit about how we can improve efficiencies and bring those things like alerts into tickets. So before we do that, it's worthwhile understanding or deciding how we want emails into tickets and alerts into tickets to function, and the kind of behaviors we're going to get by default when a ticket is raised. And I'm going to talk about specifically condition-based tickets right now. So we can create a condition rule, and I've done one right here in advance, that will effectively raise tickets with particular or specific criteria. So I'm going to be setting up a policy rule for a condition for failed logins. And I have a trusty machine that's going to be my guinea pig. And when a ticket comes in with a tag, when a ticket comes in through this function, failed login attempts, with a tag of login failures, status of resolved when the condition is reset, and we're going to re-trigger if that condition is reopened. So effectively, when I decide that I want to create a ticket from this alert, we're going to follow these procedures. And we can set that up in the policy right away. So once I've got that ticket in place, we're going to have a fair amount of power over it. Driving over to policy management, which I can do down here, I can then create an alert on our Ninja Windows Workstation policy. And we've got quite a few things that are here by default on this policy that we've already set up. And we can create new conditions that are going to create tickets using whichever rules that we want. So we could have that default rule or that one that I just created or just demonstrated, which will set those tags. And we're going to use that failed login attempts because we're going to create tickets on that specific event. But rather than manually creating a condition from one of these amazing options here, we can actually fast track a little bit and instead use one of our templates. So we've got a bunch of templates that already exist in the product, and I'm going to pick the user account failed to log in event here. And I'm just going to go back in and edit that so that when I create a ticket, I'm going to use that failed login attempts rule. So again, that's going to add a tag of failed login attempts, which is going to be super helpful for us to find those tickets straight away. And we're going to leave everything else, I think, as default here for now. But you can also here, I should also point out, we can select different channels. We've got options to notify technicians directly, so we could actually push out to webhooks or Slack or Teams or anything like that, depending on what you need in your business. This is probably going to ask me for 2FA, which we'll find out in a second. There we go. Here's one I made earlier. So bear with me whilst I pump that in. And that is saved. So yeah, so what we've done there is we've created a policy that is applied to my workstation, which when a user account fails to log in, will hopefully, fingers crossed, create a ticket that will follow those rules that we showed before. So I'm just going to nip over to my trusty virtual machine and failed to log in a few times. Right, so we're going to let that do its thing. Now, what we can do from there is we can start to think about how we want to treat and how we want to deal with those tickets when they do come in. And there's a few extra things that we can talk about there. So one thing that we can do is we can obviously set up a board, and we've got a number of boards here already. And what we'd like to do there is then consider how we might want to fine-tune our boards to deal with the types of tickets we've got coming in. So we could quite easily create a new board that has specific forms and filters and really caters to our requirements within our business. We can do that over in the ticketing section in boards here, and we can add a board with conditions and create conditions that meet whatever we need. So we can do things based on time since the ticket was transitioned into a new status. We can actually look at things like follow-up time, which is a brand new GA feature in 12.0 we'll talk about in a second. And we can also tag things, assign things to a board based on tags. So if I wanted to, I could create a login failures filter here, put that on a login failures board, and that will bring me all tickets that meet that criteria. So we go ahead and do that now. And hopefully that will actually show up, given that we don't seem to have that ticket in yet, which is a little bit concerning. Hopefully it'll show up soon. Whilst we're waiting for that, there are a couple other things that I really want to talk about for 12.0, which are pretty cool. So we have now the ability to create a ticket from a response template, which is really smart. So we already have response templates. They are really great for literally configuring a template for responding to your users when they've sent in a request. So you can have a kind of boilerplate thing, we're looking at your ticket, or calling for specific bits of information. Now, one way that we can optimize for new tickets coming in, or when we're creating a ticket on the fly from a phone call, is to actually have templates that we can apply straight away. So if we were going to work on a new user, for example, and someone has phoned up saying, hey, I've got a new user that's joining on Monday. Okay, fine, I'll create a ticket. We can actually have a response template already defined, which can pre-fill the public note with, or the public comment with information that we might want from those users straight away. From there, we can then create that ticket, and it'll fire all the details that we might need for that customer, so we can begin to pre-stage what we need from them. We also have added, and this is something I'm super fond of, the notion of applying forms in automation actions. So whereas before you'd have to come in and manually assign a form from here, we can now actually do this through an automation. So if I come back to here, we have these the forms that we can configure, which are full of your custom fields. For example, the new starter, where we have a bunch of ticket fields, which could be really useful. But instead of having to worry about assigning that based solely on manually finding that form, which can be quite painful, we can now use a condition to do it. So for example, we can say if if a ticket has a tag of new user onboarding, then let's apply the form. It doesn't have to be a tag. It can be that it's coming from a particular source. If there's certain information in the summary, you could even do this as a time-based thing. I'm sure that could be useful at some points in time. So if we go back to our new ticket, and I note that our alert hasn't come in, so that's fun because it did work in testing, but something always happens, doesn't it? We can go back, we can apply that template.
Luke, you're supposed to be the good luck charm.
Yeah, I think Dan spoiled it for us yesterday. Well, in fact, I'd literally just typed in an internal channel, "Go Dan, go," and then he disappeared from the stream. So I feel like I'm the bad luck charm. We're gonna create this ticket for a new user. Dan there, why not? And we're going to add a tag of new user onboarding. Now, at the moment, these are all the details that we have in the form fields. This is all we've got in place. But because of that condition that we've added and that automation, when I save this, presuming it's going to behave, make sure which one have I forgotten. Aha, pop that up there. When I save this, boom, suddenly we get all of these additional fields in place, which is super handy because then we can make sure that we capture all of this information up front as quickly as we can. And of course, we've also sent this request out to our users. So in principle, they'll come back with all the information we need. We can go straight away and begin to fill all this information in. The other thing that's really helpful is that we do have some of this information obviously available in the new user portal as well, or the end user portal, so we can obviously create new starter and have all that information there too. So there's a bunch of information that we can just process automatically. And I mean, that's not new functionality per se, but it's still very important to know that this is all here and we have ways of getting this information in. Follow-up time. So I saw just in the comments we have a question from Travis about follow-ups. Thank you. That was next on my list. So in 12.0, we've GA'd follow-ups, and follow-ups is here. Follow-ups is really cool because we can actually set a date time for when a ticket needs to be progressed, and it's really up to you. So rather than us prescribing exactly how you're going to use this, we've got automations that can use follow-up time, and you can basically implement this howsoever you like. So if it's a case that you want to, I'm just going to make sure that my system stops making annoying noises. It's outputting to the wrong speakers. Right, so you can very easily nip into ticketing, into triggers, event-based, time-based, create ticket, condition, add condition, and then we have at, before, after, and you can actually set actions as per before. So you can send notifications, you can add tags, you can remove tags. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do, you can do it right here. So you could very easily set up tags for, we are passing the follow-up time, we've passed the follow-up time. I want to actually have tags on those so that we make sure that we don't lose them. You can also work with boards exactly like this as well. So you have quite a lot of control over how the follow-up is used. And of course, in future updates, we'll be extending the notions of follow-ups and time tracking much more. We still don't have that automation in, which is very annoying. I will check what's going on there.
Because I had a check. So it's
you.
because the user account got locked. So I don't think it was triggering the failed sign in.
Useful. Okay, thank you, sir. If only I'd thought to also do a user account locked, it worked fine in testing. But yeah, so there's quite a few things that we've launched in 12.0. Just checking to see if there's anything else. Oh yes, so other things that we've added. So in recent tickets, we now have the subject for tickets, which is a small but super, super helpful feature here, or adjustment enhancement. So you can actually see what the ticket was, not just the ID. And I suppose we should also talk about time tracking, shouldn't we? So I'm going to pick one of the previous, let's see, so do a site offline. We've got a few different options for time tracking. So we were talking about PSA right now. Down here, we can see is the agreement. And that agreement will inform what's available for me as a tech when I start to do an update. So this is a time update. I can actually choose different time entry products I've got. So whether or not it's coming out of an included agreement, out of hours agreement, an emergency support agreement, scheduled site visit. You'll know this as a tech when you're actually adding the time, what's appropriate, and that will just increment the time that's gone against that particular agreement. We can also...
So one quick thing to add to that.
Please do.
If you leave it blank, we'll follow the rules that are set in the agreement and we'll map automatically. You don't have to pick one here. The other thing to do is when you do pick one which has block time on it, it will also let you know how much is left. So if you've got a situation where...
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, so if you've got a situation where, hey, they've only got 45 minutes of time left and you know it's going to take 2 hours to do a task, you can have that conversation with the customer, hey, you need to buy some more time, or you're going to have to pay an hourly rate for this ahead of actually doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can see we have a block time one here that we can demonstrate that on. There we go. So on this one, got 19.75. Remember that we had 15 minutes that was knocked off the block time earlier on. So then if we pop the time entry in there, that will decrement off that. The other thing is worth noting is that we can also adjust. So in the event that you need to do some fine tuning, that can absolutely be done. And you can also make changes here as well. So lots of stuff going on there to support that round trip of billing and time usage. Just checking to see if there's anything else that we haven't covered off that was in 12.0. Response templates there. I think that's everything significant in 12.0 from the ticketing side. But yeah, so basically there's a lot of control around creating tickets from automations, from conditions, from actions, and bringing those in and controlling how they are going to show up for your techs. I'm a big fan of the boards. I think they're super powerful, and it took me a little while personally to get my head around them. It's a very different approach to some other ticketing systems because, kind of effectively the tickets are still in one place, but that gives you a lot of control and a lot of power. And of course, those technicians can be granted or restricted access to given boards as well, which gives you a little bit more control, and that's based on the organization. But it does give you quite a lot of ability to really kind of sort the work that you're looking at. Can we use ticketing form to add and remove roles?
Not today for linking into like external licensing, but we have plans to try and improve the ability where you can have some more automation as you're working through a ticket fire off. So hopefully in the future.
Yeah, thanks for hitting that, and thanks for the great run through, Phil.
Yeah, a couple of hiccups there. Apologies. I want to go and hide in the corner for an hour now.
No,
you did great, Phil.
There's a couple other questions, and I wanted to call out this one too, actually. seductor. Just calling out Luke, something that you guys must have been talking about. He's calling out. It's cool to see it making its way into production. So I just want to give a shout out there. And then I also mentioned, like, for every, I think I said 50, but for every 10th one of those, I think you get to like peek your head outside for a minute. We keep like a running tab. Okay. Andrew has a good question. Will technicians be able to run reports to view their total time spent on tickets over a period of time for trackable billable hours?
Yes, so there's a few different ways we're approaching this. We want to introduce the ability to have this directly via timesheets, so you'll be able to see all your time, check it's all correct, and do that through the billing side of things. We're also working on a new reporting engine, which will be sometime this year, where we'll be able to actually give far more power around exactly the reports you can get out of ticketing and out of the whole Ninja platform.
Awesome, thanks for that. And let's see. I'll just call this out too.
Yeah, this is what we always try and do at Ninja. Like, the PM spend a whole bunch of time talking to customers all the time, and like, we do listen, and this is where we try and always, wherever we're building, we want to get customers involved. We want to hear what you guys need, and listen to you as we improve Ninja.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll call it too. I mean, it's really cool and energizing to be in a place where the work is never done, right? Like, it would be sad if the work was done. Like, what would we do? And so, yeah, don't be shy with all of your requests. I mean, few of you are. You're always very vocal, which we actually appreciate. We're definitely eager to hear what you're wanting and to react to that. And Luke, you reminded me, this isn't it. We have more to share.
Cool.
Yeah, back over to Luke. Seamless link.
So now I want to show you the other side of tickets. So we finished tickets. We want to go in and figure out how to build them, to get that information to our customers, to actually see what time's been tracked, and to make sure they build the right amount of money in the end. So starting out, if we go look at one of the agreements, so I can have a look at my managed services default one here. In here, under the billing section, we've got some options around when tickets are actually going to be billed. So we can say bill tickets in any status. So as soon as I track time, do we want to bill customers, or do I only want to bill them when they've been, example for when they've been resolved or closed? So I've just got that control over at what point in the ticket lifecycle do I actually want to charge my customers for things. It depends if you have tickets which are like projects. You could have a project one where you want to bill incrementally, but have one ticket which will be open for like 6 months. You could set that on a project agreement, and on your normal support agreements, you probably just want to do when they're resolved and closed. So yeah, so the next part of this is making sure that you've got everything right before you start raising your invoices. So if you have a few different ways to do this. So if I come into finance here and time entries, here I can see a list of, by default, all the time entries which haven't been billed yet. I can see exactly how much the track time was, what the rounded time is going to be, what the how much time was actually used from included, how much is going to be billed and charged to them. I can see the products that were assigned to them, if it's normal hours, out of hours, and I can come and see like what's the actual price we're going to charge our customers for these items. In here, I could come in and if I've gone and edited my products, updated the prices, I can do a recalculation. So it will update it, rerun it through that billing engine and get the latest products and the latest prices. Or I could come in here and say, actually manually assign it to a different agreement or a different product if I need to as well. Once this has been checked, what you can do, or you can also do automatically, is generate your actual invoices from your agreement. So in here, I've got all the different agreements across companies. You can also access it from the organization level. If I come in here and preview this, it's going to show me what is actually going to be put on the invoice which goes out to a customer. So in here, I've got a manual option from my managed site. I've got per desktop laptop cost, where I picked up one desktop automatically from it. I've got a couple of time entries, which are an emergency support one, which actually got split between having 3/4 of an hour, which was in hours, and then another 1.5 hours, which was out of hours, which is why it's put it as 2 different items here, because I could have 2 different rates and be treated separately. And then I've also got here an HDMI cable, which you can add some products onto tickets as you're working on them to say, hey, for this ticket, I had to go in and give this person an HDMI cable to solve it. So invoices will either be created automatically on a schedule, or you can come in here and manually create it. And that's going to then give you, again, you can come in, edit any of the products. If there is a mistake, you could just override it at the invoice level. But once it's created, you can then come in, review them in pending. You can then approve them and choose to sync them after you check they're all okay. So once you've done that, you now need to start thinking about, are we making profit? How is my business doing? What's going on the financial side of billing? So if we come into the finance tab by default, we've now got this new overview option where we have a bunch of pre-configured date ranges, including a custom one. So I'll just use this calendar year. So in here I can see how many invoices I've raised, how much time's been tracked, the total that's been invoiced, and then my estimated total costs. So this is where we're taking a combination of the costs that you've set on products, as well as the costs which are coming from the estimated time cost per technician. So this is going to give you that full burden cost of not just how much has your software, your physical things you sold your customer cost, but also how much time have you spent paying your technicians to support a customer. So this is where it's really going to let you highlight, am I making profit on this customer? Are they using more support than I'm actually charging them for? So if we come into the organization view now, this is where you can get that information. So in here, I can very quickly see, hey, I'm billing this customer. I'm doing great. I'm making 91% profit apparently. Won't see that in the real world normally, but in my example data you've got here. And then you'll also be able to quickly flag and say, hey, we've actually spent more time supporting them. We're not charging them enough money. We're not making our profit. And we'll be able to see that profitability percentage. So not just say, hey, I'm making a loss on these, but also say, is this below what I expect them to be? Is it below about the 50% that I should be targeting on how much profit I'm making on each customer? So when you've got that problem come up, what we can also do is look at a per product level across everyone. So in here, we can come in and say, hey, have we got any specific problem products? So I've got my managed services included, always going to be running at a loss because this is just my time where I'm tracking the actual expenses I'm doing on included time. But I could also dive in and see, are there any other products where I shouldn't be losing money that I am losing money? So if I go back to an organization, let's have a look at the actual organization level to see where a problem can be. So if I click into this company, for example, I've then got a finance overview of just this single customer. In here, I can then look at the agreement level and product level. So first off, I can dive into my agreements. I can look at exactly what is the profitability for each of the agreements I've got with the customer. I can come in and I can then say also not just agreements, but I can then drill in further and look at the individual product level for that customer just to find out exactly where that problem is. Where do I need to have a conversation with the customer to say, hey, we need to either make some improvements so we can support you less, or we need to increase your prices. So it just lets you try and get that visibility into your business just to make sure there's not blind spots you've got where you're missing, where you could be making more profit, or even worse, where you're losing money. So that's some of the core things we've added for 12. I see we've got a bunch of questions. Let's have a look.
Well, one really from David. API, is it how much of this information is accessible?
In 12.0, you can access the ticket through the ticket API or the ticket log API. You can access some of the PSA billing details, but from 13.0, our next release, we've got a full billing API coming where you'll be able to interact with pretty much everything inside billing.
Very cool. And dumb question, but this will be added to the same site for the public documentation site?
Yep. It'll be on the same normal public API documentation. Some other things we've got coming in the next release is really the first parts are starting to focus on converging asset management and billing together a bit more, which is we're going to be able to automatically build the license counts you've got here in asset management as line items on PSA. So what this is really going to unlock is our license management section has a really easy to use API for tracking these kind of your current usage. And you'll be able to take that usage and bill it straight from PSA. So this is going to open up the doors for being able to do some very easy integrations with things like PAX8, things like Microsoft 365. Let us do some like integrations through some partners we've got to try and get that data in as an intermediary step. And then the long-term plan is to start building some of these integrations to pull this data in automatically. 13.0 is coming soon, TM, probably a little bit away at the moment. We're still just rolling out 12. Just in reply to Robert's question there. Is it possible to break down billing by location or only organization? Today, it's only organization. We're only doing it at the organization level. We've got plans in the future to probably look at how we can introduce location. The main problem is not everything is associated to a location in Ninja, so we're just trying to solve that problem, but it's definitely something we're considering for the future.
Sorry, I was getting click happy there. Yeah, I mean, this is great, Luke, and as David calls out, lots of good stuff here, and obviously more on the way. I mean, I think that Phil, like you mentioned, a lot of folks here have been using ticketing for a while, maybe, but really cool to see this kind of come together, bundled, and like you mentioned, Luke, having taking more advantage of that, the fact that these are all working together and what all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the goal, isn't it? So that PSA as a bundle, for example, actually feels like a one solid product of documentation and asset management and ticketing, and it's like one whole like holistic feature. And with those advances that we've got in ticketing right now and the things that are coming in the future, and thinking about how to streamline your operations whilst also then so you're reducing the time taken by your techs to fulfill kind of fundamental issues and getting information as quickly as possible from documentation from your users, and also tracking that accurately through billing. It's going to make things a lot more efficient, and that's then, I mean, that's the goal for everyone, isn't it? Ultimately we're always being pressured to do more with fewer, so everything that we can do to make everyone more efficient is always handy.
Absolutely. So I wanted to call out a couple things. We're encouraging you to let us know what you want to see, right? So how do people do that? Robin has been in the background, and thank you, Robin, for doing this. Grabbing links to Product Board. That's the system we use to show the roadmap, what's coming up, and then also allows you to submit ideas. And so these wonderful PMs are actively looking, tracking those things. We really are paying attention. Another way you can do it is to join the Discord. I think a lot of folks already are in there. Certainly a lot of the familiar names I'm seeing. And yes, thank you, Robin. Like up here in the corner here, you can have a QR code. We can drop a link in here too if you don't like the QR code. But join that. You'll have access to a lot of your fellow NinjaOne users, sharing lots of great tips and tricks, answering questions. And then you also have direct access to these guys. And there's even some special channels we have. If you're interested in becoming a beta tester and seeing some of the early in development stuff that we have cooking, you can reach out to your account manager, sign an NDA, and then that gets you access into a whole other world of secret, special, shiny channels. Awesome. Great that you're joining. And I wanted to call out this from Jason. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the support and everything. And right back at you. We definitely, as we've made it clear here a lot, building with Ninja is definitely collaborative. You guys are truly to thank for a lot of it. So last call for questions. And also, I guess, just a reminder for everybody, kind of the release schedule. I mean, as you've been noticing, these things are coming out on a regular basis, every couple of months or so. Luke, you mentioned 13 and some of the things that are going to be rolling on from there. I mean, you guys are actively working on 14 and everything too. So just wanted to give you guys everyone a reminder that 12.0 releasing now, more to come. We're always wanting to make sure that we're sharing all the information we can with you guys. So if you have any suggestions, leave them here in the comments on YouTube. But with that, unless there's any final questions, except for Robert with a very cryptic one, you don't have to answer this live, Luke. Which one probably he's going to ask?
Soon TM. I got stuck preparing for this, so I didn't have a chance to do it today yet.
All right.
Try and do it tonight or tomorrow. It might be early next week.
So yep,
See.
we'll just we'll leave everybody with the tease there. More to come in classic NinjaOne fashion soon. But thank you everybody for joining. Phil, great job with your first live stream, your first official one. And Luke, thank you as always for giving the time. Appreciate you guys and appreciate all of you.
Thank you,
Take care,
everyone.
everybody.
Good to see you.
Thanks.